Yeah. That feeling doesn't lie. Yeah. Every move I make is filed in some archive. Every step recorded in the data's drive. The face scan at the entrance, the algorithm learning, the purchase history building, the machine keeps turning. I change my settings, they change them back. I read the terms of service, it's a one-way track. The phone's a two-way mirror and I knew it when I signed. But no one doesn't stop the feeling crawling through the mind. They don't need to follow me, I carry them around. The tracker in the pocket barely makes a sound. Convenient, seamless, frictionless, they say. The observation just come free with the convenience they gave. And it's not just the government, not just the state. It's the comment section judging every move I make. It's the group chat with the screenshot ready to deploy. It's the culture of surveillance dressed as a decoy. Eyes never sleep, eyes never sleep. Every room I enter, something's counting sheep. Eyes never sleep, no rest, no dark. Every light I turn off leaves another spark. I close the curtain, they already saw. Eyes never sleep, that's the only law. Yeah. The performance of the self is now a full-time role. Every candid moment has a director and a goal. I curate my damage, package up my flaw. Present a version cleaned enough to pass the law of public expectation. Social media court, where context doesn't matter and the verdict comes in short. I watch good people burn for one unclean moment while the actual harm was slow and nobody noticed. The eye doesn't sleep, but the eye is also blind to the patterns underneath. It only catches the defined, the surface, the gap, the slip, the face. The structural rot lives on in a comfortable space. Unseen because it's boring, undocumented because it's slow. The eye needs drama, needs a target, needs a show. So while we watch each other in a circle of inspection, the ones who built the cameras get to skip the section. I want a room with no record, a moment nobody owes. I want a thought that lives and dies between my chest and bones. Not for anything to hide, just to be unmeasured, unscored, just to exist 1 second without the eye of the Lord. I practice being human in the space between the posts and the 30 seconds before I frame and share the most important seeming version of the life I'm living now. I try to find the unperformed, but I've forgotten how. The anxiety of visibility is its own disease, a constant low-grade audition just to live at ease. I catch myself composing what I'd say if someone asked before the asking, always ahead of the unmasked. And I wonder what is left of me outside the gaze, the person before the profile, before the public phase, before the audience became the reason for the action, before the life itself became a caption. I wanna want things for no audience at all, to fail completely with no screenshot of the fall, to be embarrassed, wrong, confused without a record. Eyes never sleep, but I am getting tired of the actor. I turn off the phone, close the laptop, sit in the room. Just sit in the room, just sit and notice how long it takes before you stop performing for no one. That's the length of what we've lost. I didn't sign anything, I was too young to hold a pen, but they handed me the bill anyway. Welcome to the world, here's what you owe. Yeah. Yeah. Born into a number, a bracket, a tier. The system had my balance sheet before my birth year. Zip code determined the school before I chose a book. The textbooks were outdated, take a closer look. My district got the leftovers after the good cuts. The crumbling ceiling was the first roof over my gut. They said education is the great equalizer, but equal starts don't come to those born in the miser. A shadow of a neighborhood the planners rolled off first, where opportunity ran dry before it quenched the thirst. The medical debt my parents couldn't climb out from was my first inheritance before my life had begun. No trust fund, no connections, no family network map, just a name on the bill and the system built the trap. The interest compounds daily on a loan I never signed. Debt in my name, the original design. Debt in my name, I didn't borrow this. Debt in my name, born into the abyss. Every bill they handed down else's greed. I'll pay you with my life, if that's what life requires. But I'll say the truth out loud before I retire. The college brochure said invest in your future bright. Took the loan at 18, didn't understand the night that follows 20 years when the interest swallows clean every raise, every bonus, every dollar in between. My parents co-signed on a dream they couldn't read. The fine print was a foreign language built on need, and the system smiles and calls this opportunity while the debt restructures every pathway to be free. The neighborhood I grew in got rezoned, price removed. The people who built culture there got silently improved. Out of the picture, displacement with the developer smile. The debt we owe just for existing takes a while to calculate. The healthcare gap, the wage gap, the school, the generational poverty designed as a rule, not an accident. A policy, a choice, a line, that in my name, and I never signed. I am not asking for a handout, I am asking for the math. To be honest about the head start and the ones who never had. Count the distance from the starting line before you grade the race. Betting my name isn't weakness, it's a structural disgrace. I worked through jobs and still came up short of even. The system counts your hustle, but it's never quite believing that you deserve the runway that the legacy kid got freed. At a different zip code doesn't determine what you'll be. I paid the debt down inch by inch with both hands bleeding. I watched the interest grow each time I thought I was leading. And here's the part they don't put in the bootstrap speech. Some starts are so far back, the finish line's out of reach. Not because the runner isn't fast enough for bold, but because the track was never level. That's the story told in silence and statistics in the spaces between lines, and the families that worked forever and still paid the fines. I say this not with bitterness, but with a clear eye. The debt in my name was placed there, and I wanna know why. And more than why, I want the ones who placed it to be named, because anonymous systems don't feel the weight of shame. I will not pass this debt to the ones who come after me. That ends here, that ends with my name. Not because the system fixed itself, it didn't, but because somebody has to be the last one holding the bill and decide no more. The debt stops here. In my name, in my name, for the last time. I made it. I keep saying that to myself. I made it. But made it where exactly? The door opened, I walked through, and on the other side, just another door. Yeah, I got the address now, uptown, clean zip code. Left the old block in the rearview down a long road. New neighbors wait, but never learned my name right. I smile and nod and lock the door each night. The ones I grew up with say I changed, moved different. The ones up here say I'm too raw, too distant. Caught between two worlds like a signal in the static. I built the bridge myself, but crossing feels dramatic. My mother calls on Sundays, asks if I am eating. I'm at a rooftop dinner, tell her it's a meeting. She doesn't know what a networking event is. I don't know how to explain what my life is. Used to know every face on every corner of my street. Now I know nobody and nobody knows me complete. Success gave me a view but took away the ground. I got the penthouse floor but lost the only home I found. No home in success, no roots in the rise. Got everything I chased but lost a place behind my eyes. No home in success, just a well-dressed eight. Built a life they said to build, still hollow in the frame. Where do I go when the applause goes quiet? No home in success, just silence in the riot. I code switched so much I forgot the original tongue. The version of me from back then feels foreign and young. At the old neighborhood cookout, I'm the guest now. At the boardroom table, I'm still passing some tests somehow. Neither crowd fully claims me, neither room fits right. I wear the suit by day and stare at ceilings every night. My therapist says I'm grieving. I ask her what for. She says the version of yourself that lived before the door. And I laugh because I thought success would feel like landing, not like standing in the airport, neither leaving nor remaining. I bought my parents a house, they seemed happy for a week, then asked me when I'm coming home. I didn't speak because I don't know where home is anymore. I renovated everything except the emptiness at core. The trophies on the shelf collect a very quiet dust, and the man inside the mirror asks, was this enough? Was this just? No home in success, no roots in the ride. Got everything I chased but lost a place behind my eyes. No home in success, just a well-dressed eight. Built the life they said to build, still hollow in the frame. Where do I go when the applause goes quiet? No home in success, just silence in the riot. I used to know exactly who I was, before the title, before the byline, before the buzz. Now every introduction starts with what I do, not who I am, not where I'm from, not what I've been through. I am my resume in rooms that never ask, and I am just the old black kid behind a newer mask. Tell me, when you strip the success all the way down, is there still a person standing, or just a title in a town? The old me would've killed for this. The view, the peace, the quiet. The new me sits inside it like a beautifully furnished riot. I go back sometimes, walk the old streets slow. Half of it is gone now, condos in a row. The corner store is a cold brew coffee brand. The mural that we painted over didn't make the plan. I take a picture of the wall where my name used to be and realize I've been erased alongside the community. So where do I belong? In the world that I came from, or the world that I bought into after all the damage done? I'm not complaining, I know what the other side looks like. I'm just saying victory can feel like a very long night with no return address, no landmark, no North Star. Just a question every immigrant and dreamer carries far. Did I leave to find myself or lose the self I had? And is the man I become a gift, or just the man I never had? Maybe home was never a place, maybe it was a feeling I outgrew. Or maybe I just built the walls too high to remember what the ground felt like. I made it, I keep saying that I made it. I just don't know where I am. I finished. Nobody noticed. I finished again. Still nothing. So I just kept finishing. I turned the lights off last in every room I built. Swept the floor of every stage before the spotlight lit. The project shipped on time because I stayed till 3. The meeting ran on schedule, nobody credited me. I write the notes that shape the room's decision, and watch someone else deliver it with precision. They call his name, they shake his hand, they pour the glass. I pack my bag and head back out and let the moment pass. My mother used to say, good work speaks for itself, but good work in a loud room just collects dust on the shelf. I watch the loudest voice get handed every key, while the ones who built the door just fade to history. Not bitter, just the weight to how the system counts. The ones who show the work and the ones who just announce. Silent applause. Empty room, did everything right, but I left too soon. Silent applause. No curtain call, caught the whole sky, but nobody saw the fall. I clapped for myself in the quiet. That's the only sound that wasn't lying. I learned my craft in rooms nobody visited. The reps, the rewrites, the hours unwitnessed. I didn't post the process, I just ran it. Didn't need the validation, or I planned it. But somewhere deep the human thing still aches when nobody sees the cost of what it takes. Not praise, just acknowledgement and nod. card that says I see you holding up this ride. My colleague got a plaque for the idea. I seated my name in the footnote when nobody needed. I signed a card at every office celebration. Sat alone the day I hit my own creation. The mountain I climbed had no marker at the top, just the view and the wind and the choice to stop or keep climbing. The next one unnamed and unseen. That's been the whole story of the life in between. Maybe recognition was never the point. Maybe the work was always the joint. The nail, the thread, the note, the line, the thing that holds, regardless of the sign. But I am still human, and humans need to know that somewhere what they built still stands and shows. I don't need a trophy, I don't need the speech. I just need one person to look at what I made and say, I see it. That's all, just I see it. They built the altar out of Instagram posts, lit candles with borrowed light. Everybody's holy till the camera cuts, and the mask just stays on. They walk into the room and part the crowd like Moses. Silk robes pressed perfect, philanthropist poses. Quote the scripture on a Monday, sin on a Friday. Donate to the shelter on the building my way. I've seen the sermon twice, once live, once in the highlight reel. The congregation claps but nobody asks what's real. Plastic saints in the glass cathedral, praying loud enough for God to think they're equal. Their charity is math, write it off, deduct it. Pain is just a backdrop when the photo's well constructed. Feed the hungry on a Tuesday, tweeted by the evening. The homeless man's a prop in their November season. Giving name on the hospital wing, name on the scholarship. The legacy is branding, let the truth just slip. They wear the halo like a crown, not like a burden, cause the crowd keeps quiet and the curtain stays curtain. Plastic saints, polish up the outside, let the inside rot and fade. Plastic saints, Sunday morning sermon, Saturday night parade. Can't wash off what you are with holy water and a prayer. Plastic saints melting down, nobody standing there. I grew up watching elders preach community and love, and watched them price the neighborhood and give themselves a shove. To the penthouse, to the table where the real decisions fall. Told us lift each other up while building up a wall. The politician crying at the podium today had his hand in the budget that took everything away. The activist with righteous post goes quiet when the bill comes up. The mentor who taught truth was first to fill the silence up. They all got a biography, a TED talk, and a cause. A Netflix special on the struggle, carefully curated flaws. Plastic saints don't bleed, they brand, they don't stand ground, they photograph the stand. Every mobile is a marketing campaign with a deadline, and the fine print reads, this virtue is in mine. Plastic saints, polish up the outside, let the inside rot and fade. Plastic saints, Sunday morning sermon, Saturday night parade. Can't wash off what you are with holy water and a prayer. Plastic saints melting down, nobody stands. The wellness guru pushing peace and healing every day. Sued his assistant when the truth came out to play. Called it defamation when the facts walk through the door. The robes don't make the monk, they just mop up the floor. The corporate ESG report reads beautifully clean. The workers in the warehouse read a different scene. Diversity on page 8, the layoff come on 9. Inclusion is a chapter in a book that skips the spine. They gave out awards for being decent, made a gala of it. Charged the ticket price against the tax deductible bit. The same industrial complex, product line expanding. Empathy is licensed, now compassion needs good branding. I don't need a saint, I need somebody real enough to be wrong. Real enough to stay when the applause is gone. When the camera cuts and the crowd goes home. When the altar's empty and you stand there alone. What's left of you when the plastic melts away? The ones who really changed things never made the gala list. They changed the pipes, the zoning laws, the iron fist. They showed up for the Tuesday meeting, nobody came to. They stayed up in the cold because the cause was true. No photographer, no feature, no foundation in their name. They came because they came. The work was not a game. Of plastic saints were curating grief for magazine spreads. These people quietly made sure someone got a bed it. Authenticity isn't loud, it doesn't need a mic. It just does what needs doing through the long dark night. So take your hollow halos back, I've seen what's underneath. Pressed tin and good lighting and a well-rehearsed belief. The real ones never asked us to admire or obey. They just quietly showed up and then they walked away. Plastic saints, plastic saints. Polish up the outside, let the inside rot and fade. Plastic saints, Sunday morning sermon, Saturday night parade. Can't wash off what you are with holy water and a prayer. Plastic saints melting down, nobody standing there. They'll give a speech at my funeral, cry just the right amount, post a photo, get the likes, and in the back of the room, the people who actually showed up won't say a word because they never needed to. Plastic melts, real things don't. You talk about me, you talk about me again. You haven't stopped talking about me, so I built a throne out of everything you say. Sit down, look. Every rumor was a brick I laid into the foundation. Every hit piece was the mortar holding my creation. They wrote the headline, I framed it on the wall. Called me controversial, best marketing of all. The think pieces kept my name inside the algorithm. The panel discussions put my face inside the medium. They dissected every bar and called it overrated. I watched the streams go up each time they said they hated. The noise became the signal, the chaos was the brand. Every cancellation attempt just grew the reprimand into a following, a movement, an audience that stayed. Because the ones who hate the loudest are the ones who got it played. I didn't buy the crown, they built it with their mouths. Every argument against me just kept paying out. Turned every critic to a stepping stone and climbed and wore the crown they made me from the noise and the grind. Crown made a noise, throne built from doubt. Every word against me is what I'm about. Crown made a noise, forged in the fire. Controversy paid my rent and took me higher. You gave me the crown, you just don't know it yet. Yeah. Crown made a noise, I haven't peaked yet. Yeah, yeah. The press conference drama, the open letter season. Everyone explaining me, nobody asking the reason. I came from nothing, so the nothing doesn't scare me. Every hot take is a platform, come and share me. The scandal wasn't mine, but I absorbed the attention. Redirected every hit into a new dimension of reach. The irony is beautiful and sharp. The loudest opposition became my sharpest art. I watched the careful ones, the quiet ones, the clean disappear inside the algorithms in between. While controversy kept me living in the front page, the outrage was my residency on the main stage. Not proud of everything, the noises cost the room. Some collateral I carry and I carry the wound. But I won't pretend the crown isn't sitting on my head, built from every single thing the opposition said. I didn't ask for this noise, but I learned to conduct it. Every dissonant voice, I learned to construct it into something that stands, into something that rings. The crown made a noise, it's still a crown, and still it sings. The ones who tried to silence built my amplifier. The ones who tried to dim me just increased the fire. I keep the receipts of every accusation dated. Every public dragon left me more calibrated. Now they want a seat at the table that they burned. Want credit for the lesson that I earned. Through the noise, through the static, through the storm, the crown got heavier, but the head got more informed. I wear it not as arrogance, but as documentation. That survival in the noise is its own kind of education. You learn who's real when the volume turns against you. You learn your own foundation when the critics try to dent you. So let them talk, the algorithm eats the tension. Let them write each paragraph a free extension of my reach, my name, my story, my domain. Crown made a noise, and I'm still in the game. They're still talking, I can hear them from up here. It's quieter than you think at the top of a throne built from everything they said about you. Almost peaceful. Keep talking. I got more to build. The big thing didn't break me. The small things did. One at a time. For years. Yeah. I thought the worst was over when I survived the first blow. Picked myself up, dusted off, put on a decent show. Told myself the hard part was behind me now for good. Rebuilt the parts that broke the way I always knew I would. But pain doesn't come in one installment. That's the lie. It comes in small recurring charges you don't see until July, when the statement hits and every little withdrawal's there. The $10 grief that came on Tuesday. Did you notice that one? Yeah. The moment someone almost said your name but stopped. The email that stayed unread. The call that dropped. The anniversary of the thing you've never named out loud. The room that fills with everyone except the one you wow. These are the installments, small and barely felt, until you check the balance and discover how they've dealt. Compound interest on the grief you thought you filed away. Pain paid in installments comes back due today. Pain paid in installments. Small cuts, slow bleed. Not the one great wound, but the quiet recurring need. Pain paid in installments. Pain paid in installments. You think that you're fine until the total adds up on the dotted line. It never came at once, it came in pieces, came in time. Pain paid in installments. One more overdue line. The second year was harder than the first, that surprises. Everyone says year 2 is when the real disguise is lifted, when the support has moved on to someone new, and you're still sitting with the thing that's sitting still in you. I smiled on cue at all the right occasions, built a functional exterior through all the iterations of fine, I'm fine, it's fine. You learn to modulate the internal temperature to something tolerable, sedate. But in the 3 a.m. the installment comes to collect the quiet conversation with the ceiling. No respect for time and for context, for the day you have tomorrow. It doesn't care about your schedule. Pain has no borrow limit. It withdraws at will and charges what it wants. It haunts the spaces you forgot to guard. It haunts. I am learning to read the small print of grief, to recognize the fee before it becomes a thief. The tiny monthly payments I used to ignore are the ones that bankrupt everything at the core. I am making peace with the installment plan, not because I chose it, but because I am still here, still paying and still, somehow, still standing. Year 5 and the bill is still arriving quarterly. The grief evolved, it doesn't wreck me, it just borders me. It lives in the adjacent room and knocks sometimes at night. I've learned to say, not now, and mostly it respects the right. I've stopped pretending it will fully go away. Some debts get managed, not erased, that's what I say. The installments now are smaller, more predictable in time. I see them come and set aside the space and hold the line. What I didn't know at the beginning of the pain was that the body counts the cost, while the mind keeps saying that you're fine. The body keeps the ledger quietly, and one day presents the total bill entirely. So I am learning now to pay attention sooner, to catch the small withdrawal before it becomes a bruiser, to acknowledge what arrived today instead of deferred filing. Pain paid in installments, I'm changing how I'm paying. It still comes, just differently now. Less like a flood, more like weather. Something I learned to read, something I learned to dress for. Not gone, not conquered, just known. And knowing is enough to keep standing. Paid in installments, 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 installments. I stopped pretending I showed them everything. And they looked, and they nodded, and they left. That's the part nobody prepares you for. Yeah, I spent a decade building walls and spent a year tearing down every brick I laid in silence. Now I laid them on the ground. I told the truth in careful pieces and in full paragraphs. I risked the reputation I had built on photographs of someone easier to love, curated light and clean. I let them see the version that was harder to convene. The complicated mornings, the unanswered questions, the doubt, the part of me I'd never found the grammar to talk about. And something strange happened when I laid the whole thing bare. The room got very quiet and the choir was still there. Not hostile, not rejecting, but not reaching either. Like showing someone your lungs and watching them not breathe. There with you, just nodding, moving on the lighter things. And I put the mask back, not his armor but his wings, to carry me back to the place where I was known by the face I wore, not the face I'd grown. Mask off, still alone. Showed the wound and stood there on my own. Mask off, still alone. Built the bridge but crossed it to an empty home. I gave them the real, they gave me the polite. Mask off, still alone, in the open, in the light. Yeah, yeah. Connection is the word they use like it's a given. Like depth is just a setting you can toggle in the living room of modern relating. Swipe the surface, call it deep. Add a heart emoji to the thing that made you weep. I watch people confess in public to 1,000 strangers and receive the warmest validation wrapped in managed dangers of intimacy without the weight, curated vulnerability. Where the most you share, the more you build a brand ability. But I don't want the brand, I want someone in the 3 a.m. when the real thing surfaces and clarity condemns. The comfortable someone who can hold the contradictions, not summarize my story into motivational fictions. I want the silence that is full, not the silence that is space. I want someone who stays harder when I show the actual face. And that person is so rare that looking has become its own particular exhaustion. Mask off, still alone. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe the depth I need doesn't exist in equal measure in another human being. Or maybe it does and we are all just too afraid to hold the weight of being truly fully known and staying anyway. I've made peace with being partial, showing what the room can take and keeping the remainder for the quiet and the wake of early mornings where the self is most itself, the unwatched version off the shelf. Not performing, not explaining, not translating for the crowd, just existing in a volume that is neither soft nor loud. And maybe that's the only place the real thing gets to live, in the private room inside the life that you don't give to anyone completely. Not because of fear or shame, but because some rooms are only held by one name. And loneliness reframed is also sovereignty, the private self that no one else was ever meant to see. So I wear the mask now differently, not to hide, but to protect the part of me that lives inside, from the cost of constant translation into other people's frames. Mask off at home, mask on in the world, but I know my names. I'm not lonely like I used to be. I'm alone like I chose to be. There's a difference. One is a wound, the other is a room I finally furnished myself. Oh, you can move, you can change your number, you can change your name. The street where it happened still has the address. Yeah. The corner watched you when you made the choice you made. The lamppost saw the handshake and the deal that was laid. The wall holds every word you said to every face. The block has better memory than any database. You cannot renovate the truth out of the concrete. The story lives in every crack beneath your feet. The people who were present, some have gone, some stayed. But what was done in daylight lives beyond a decade. I watched men climb and cut the ladder as they rose. Forget the ones who spotted them, forget the ones who chose to vouch for them in rooms they never could have entered, to speak their name with credibility and centered conviction, and then find themselves erased from the story being told from the higher place. The streets don't forget, they're just waiting on the time for the accountant to come due on every line.
Streets don't forget, the black remembers all.
Every rise begins somewhere before the fall.
Streets don't forget, the wall holds every name.
What you did in the dark comes back the same.
You can lead a block, but the block won't leave you. Streets don't forget,
the record's always true. I've seen loyalty traded for a better deal. Seen the ones who bled together stop the feel of brotherhood the moment opportunity divides. The ones who rose and never came back to the side where they were standing when they had nothing but a name. The streets remember all of it, the shift that changed the game. The mentor you dismissed when you outgrew his use. The friend whose story you revived into an excuse for why you made it and they didn't. Your narrative now clean. The street version of that story lives in the in-between. The old neighborhood knows who came back and who didn't, who sent money quietly and who just went, who built something for the block and who just built for self. The streets are patient, the accountant sits on the shelf getting ready, not with vengeance but with gravity. What you plant in people's lives grows into what you see.
I am not speaking of revenge, I am speaking of return. Every seed you plant in people eventually has its turn. The ones you lifted, lift you back. The ones you left, remember.
The street is long and memory outlasts December. The legacy is not the press release or the name on the wall. It's what the people say about you when you're not in the hall. Not the official version, the version from the block, the one told over dominoes and conversations that don't stop at midnight over decades with the ones who really knew. The unsanitized, unsponsored memory of you. You can purchase reputation, can't purchase what is known. The street level truth of who you were and what you've shown. So this is not a warning for the ones doing right, who stayed humble in the sun and honest in the night. This is for the ones who think the climate race is the foundation, who treat the past like scaffolding, useful than disposal station. The streets don't forget because the streets are people's lives. Yeah, they remember how you treated them when the camera thrives or dies. They remember both the saint and the fraud. Streets don't forget, and neither quietly does God. Walk back through the whole neighborhood sometime, not for nostalgia, just to remember what was built on what and what was built for who. The streets know, they always knew. They're just waiting for you to catch up. You can move, you can change your number, you can change your name. The street where it happened still has the address. The corner watched you when you made the choice you made. The lamppost saw the handshake and the deal that was laid. The wall holds every word you said to every face. The block has better memory than any database. You cannot renovate the truth out of the concrete. The story lives in every crack beneath your feet. The people who were present, some have gone, some stayed. But what was done in daylight lives beyond a decade. I watched men climb and cut the ladder as they rose. Forget the ones who spotted them, forget the ones who chose to vouch for them in rooms they never could have entered, to speak their name with credibility and centered conviction, and then find themselves erased from the story being told from the higher place. The streets don't forget, they're just waiting on the time for the accountant to come due on every line. Streets don't forget, the block remembers all. Every rise begins somewhere before the fall. Streets don't forget, the wall holds every name. What you did in the dark comes back the same. You can leave the block, but the block won't leave you. Streets don't forget, the record's always true. I've seen loyalty traded for a better deal. Seen the ones who bled together stop and stop the feel of brotherhood the moment opportunity divides. The ones who rose and never came back to the side where they were standing when they had nothing but a name. The streets remember all of it, the shift that changed the game. The mentor you dismissed when you outgrew his use. The friend whose story you revised into an excuse for why you made it and they didn't. Your narrative now clean. The street version of that story lives in the in-between. The old neighborhood knows who came back and who didn't. Who sent money quietly and who just went and went. Who built something for the block and who just built for self. The streets are patient, the accountant sits on a shelf, getting ready not with vengeance but with gravity. What you plant in people's lives grows into what you see. I am not speaking of revenge, I am speaking of return. Every seed you plant in people eventually has its turn. The ones you lifted lift you back, the ones you left remember. The street is long in memory, outlast December. The legacy is not the press release or the name on the wall. It's what the people say about you when you're not in the hall. Not the official version, the version from the block, the one told over dominoes and conversations that don't stop. At midnight over decades with the ones who really knew. The unsanitized, unsponsored memory of you. You can purchase reputation, can't purchase what is known. The street level truth of who you were and what you've shown. So this is not a warning for the ones doing right, who stayed humble in the sun and honest in the night. This is for the ones who think the climb of race is the foundation, who treat the past like scaffolding, useful than disposal station. The streets don't forget because the streets are people's lives. They remember how you treated them when the camera thrives or dies. They remember both the saint and the fraud. Streets don't forget and neither quietly disguise. Walk back through the old neighborhood sometime, not for nostalgia, just to remember what was built on what and what was built for who. The streets know, they always knew. They're just waiting for you to catch up. Watched you when you made the choice you made. The lamppost saw the handshake and the deal that was laid. The wall holds every word you said to every face. The block is better memory than any database. You cannot renovate the truth out of the concrete.
They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but nobody asked the apple if it wanted to fall at all, or if it ever had a chance to roll somewhere else. I wore my father's name before I wore my own face. Inherited the debts before I understood the space. His habits lived in my hands before I made a fist. His silence lived in my throat before I knew it exists. My grandfather drank to forget what the war had taken. My father drank to forget what the silence had made him. And I stood in the kitchen at 17, watching the pattern, wondering if the gene was already written in the matter. The women in my family swallowed everything whole, turned grief into cooking, turned pain into a role. My mother smiled through fractures nobody ever named. I learned to perform okay from watching her contain. They gave me love the only way they knew how to give it, wrapped in expectation and sacrifice and living. Every hug came with a price tag I couldn't yet read. Every blessing was a boulder pressing down on the seed. Bloodline pressure running through the veins. Every generation passing down the same old pain. Bloodline pressure written in the bone, carrying the weight of every name I've ever known. Can't outrun the blood, can't outgrow the call. Bloodline pressure holding up the wall. Yeah. Be the doctor, be the lawyer, be the one who makes it right. Fix what broke before you carry daylight through the night. Be the first, be the best, be the proof that we survived. Don't you dare come back with less than everything we cried. I understand the love inside the pressure. Don't mistake me, but love that comes with conditions slowly starts to break me. I became the answer before I found my question. I built that dream so long, I lost my own direction. My cousin took a different road, they never said his name. My uncle left the country, became invisible in shame. The ones who broke the pattern became cautionary tales, and the ones who stayed inside it just kept tightening the nails. I sat with my grandmother before she left this world. She grabbed my hand and said, don't end up like the others, child. And I wanted to ask, which others? The broken or the ones who chased the life outside the bloodline and became bloodline pressure running through the vein. Every generation passing down the same old pain. Bloodline pressure written in the bone, carrying the weight of every name I've ever known. Can't outrun the blood, can't outgrow the call. Bloodline pressure holding up the wall. I am not my father's failure, I am not my mother's sacrifice. I am not the debt my grandparents couldn't pay. I am not the dream deferred the price, but I am made of all of them. Every fracture, every fight, every silent dinner table, every long and airless night. So where does their story end and mine begin? Is there even a line, or just blood running in? I tried to draw a boundary, they called it betrayal. I tried to choose myself, they said I gone and failed. The guilt is engineered so perfectly into the code that choosing your own life feels like abandoning the road. I've seen men in my family die early, die quiet, swallowing everything down like a permanent diet. No therapy, no language for the thing inside the chest. Just work until the body finally comes to rest. And I refuse, I say it clearly, I refuse to fold my life into a shape that somebody else chose to use. I carry the bloodline, but I won't be buried in it. I'll honor every ancestor, but I won't disappear within it. Because somewhere in this blood there's also someone who fought back, someone who looked at the pattern and decided to crack the cycle, the tradition, the inherited chain. Someone who chose a different name for the same old pain. My father never told me he was proud. I think he didn't know the words. His father never told him either. It's the bloodline too. The silence passed down like silver, like debt, like the shape of a jar you didn't choose, but recognize every morning in the mirror. I'm breaking the chain, not with anger, with understanding, and then with a different choice.